Imagine you're an astronaut floating weightlessly in the vast expanse of space. You're surrounded by stars and planets, and you have the incredible opportunity to explore the cosmos. But what if I told you that there are certain things you can't do in space? In this video, we'll count down the top 10 things you cannot do in space. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn some fascinating facts about space travel. Eat sticky foods. Eating sticky foods in space is a problem for a few reasons. First, there's no gravity. This means that the food you try to eat will just float around and get stuck to everything. It would be very difficult to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwich, for example, without getting peanut butter all over your face and your clothes. Second, even if you manage to get the food into your mouth, it would be difficult to swallow because there's no saliva to help you chew and swallow your food. Saliva is also important for keeping your mouth moist and preventing food from getting stuck. Finally, there's the risk of getting crumbs and other debris in your lungs. This is because there's no gravity to pull the crumbs down. If you inhale a crumb, it could get stuck in your lungs and cause serious health problems. For all these reasons, astronauts are advised to avoid sticky foods in space. Instead, they typically eat pre-packed foods that are easy to eat and don't crumble. Drinking carbonated beverage. Carbonated beverages such as soda and beer are not ideal for drinking in space. This is because the lack of gravity causes the bubbles of carbon dioxide to expand rapidly and create a mess. When you can open a can of soda in space, the bubbles can float all over the cabin and get into your eyes, nose, and mouth. They can also make it difficult to swallow. In addition, carbonated beverages can cause bloating and gas in space. This is because the lack of gravity prevents the gases from rising to the top of your stomach and escaping. As a result, the gases can build up and cause discomfort. For all of these reasons, astronauts typically avoid drinking carbonated beverages in space. Instead, they drink water, juice, and other beverages that are not carbonated. Wearing jewelry. Jewelry can be very dangerous in space because it can float around and get caught in equipment. This could cause damage to the equipment or even injure an astronaut. In addition, especially if it is loose or has small parts. For all of these reasons, astronauts are advised to avoid wearing jewelry in space. Instead, they typically wear plain, comfortable clothing that is free of jewelry. Doing your hair normally. Brushing, combing, and styling your hair in space can be difficult because there is no gravity to hold it in place. Your hair will just float around and get in your way. In addition, if you use hairspray or other styling products, they can create mess in the cabin. For all these reasons, astronauts typically wear their hair short or tied back. If they do have long hair, they usually braid it or put it in a ponytail. Astronauts also avoid using hairspray and other styling products. Taking shower or bath. There is no running water in space, so astronauts can't take showers or baths in the traditional way. Instead, they use sponge baths and wipes to stay clean. To take a sponge bath, astronauts warm up some water and add a little bit of soap. They then use a sponge to wash their bodies, one section at a time. They rinse off the soap with clean water and dry it off with a towel. To use wipes, astronauts simply wipe their bodies with a pre-moistened wipe. This is quick and easy way to clean up, but it's not effective as a sponge bath. Astronauts typically take sponge bath once a week and use wipes more frequently, especially after exercising or working in a sweaty environment. Using toilet normally. Astronauts can't use the toilet normally in space because there is no gravity to pull waste away. Instead, they use special toilets that use suction to keep waste from floating away. The toilets on the International Space Station use a system called the Waste Hygiene Compartment. The WHC is a vacuum-sealed chamber that collects waste from toilets, urinals, and sinks. The waste is then transferred to a storage tank where it is held until it can be disposed of. To use the toilet in the ISS, astronauts first sit down on the seat and place their feet in the stirrups. They then open a hatch and deposit their waste into the bowl. The suction system will then pull the waste away and into the WHC. Astronauts also have to wear special diapers or pants when they go to the bathroom, this to prevent waste from floating around and contaminating the cabin. Blowing your nose. When you blow your nose on Earth, the mucus is pulled down by gravity and falls into the tissue. However, in space, there's no gravity to pull the mucus down. This means that if you blow your nose in space, the mucus will just float around and get stuck in the equipment or other astronauts. For these reasons, astronauts are advised to avoid blowing their nose in space. Instead, they use tissues or handkerchiefs to catch their mucus. Crying. Tears don't fall in space because there is no gravity to pull them down. Instead, they form a ball on the astronaut's face. Astronauts typically wipe their tears away with tissues or handkerchiefs. If you cry in space, your tears will ball up on your face and float around. This can be uncomfortable and inconvenient. It can also pose a health hazard. If tears get into your eyes, they can cause irritations and infection. To avoid these problems, astronauts are advised to wipe their tears away immediately. It is important to be careful not to spread the tears around the cabin, as this could contaminate the equipment and other surfaces. If you found yourself crying in space, don't be afraid to ask for help from a fellow astronaut. They can help you to wipe your tears away and stay comfortable. Having close relationships. It can be difficult to have close relationship with other people when you're living in a cramped space with them for months on end. Astronauts have to be very careful to communicate effectively and resolve conflicts peacefully. One of the biggest challenges of living in space is the lack of privacy. Astronauts have to share everything from their sleep stations to their bathroom facilities. This can make it difficult to find time and space to be alone. Another challenge is the distress of the mission. Astronauts have to work long hours and deal with a lot of pressure. This can take a toll on their mental and emotional health. Despite these challenges, many astronauts form close bonds with their crewmates. They learn to rely on each other for support and companionship. They also develop a deep appreciation for the fragility of life and the importance of human connection. Coming home early. Once an astronaut is on mission, there is no turning back. They have to complete the mission, no matter how difficult it may be. This is because it is too expensive and dangerous to send a rescue mission to space. There are a few reasons why it is so expensive and dangerous to send a rescue mission to space. First, the cost of launching a spacecraft is very high. Second, the risks of space travel are significant. Even a minor malfunction could have disastrous consequences. For these reasons, astronauts are expected to complete their missions, even if it means facing difficult challenges. There have been few cases where astronauts have had to return to Earth early due to medical emergencies, but these cases are very rare. If you are ever lucky enough to go to space, be prepared to stay for the entire mission. There is no turning back once you are there. Space is a fascinating place, but it is also a very challenging environment. Astronauts have to deal with a number of challenges, including the lack of gravity, the stress of the mission, and the isolation of living in a cramped space with other people for months on end. Despite these challenges, space travel is an incredibly rewarding experience. Astronauts get to see the Earth from a new perspective and learn more about the universe. They also get to push themselves to the limits and achieve great things. If you like this video, click the next one shown on the screen. I'm sure you'll like it. Thanks for watching.